We finally know how Blizzard are attempting to fix the Heart of Azeroth system. Patch 8.2 is bringing us the Heart Forge, a new progression system for your Heart of Azeroth, one that involves deterministic, RNG-free rewards with new role-based abilities and customization options. There's a lot to cover in this video, so let's get right into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Rise of Azshara video. Today we're doing a deep dive on all that we know about the new Heart Forge progression system. So, patch 8.2 will mark the end of Heart of Azeroth level trait requirements for your Azerite gear. New Azerite gear still will be added though, and that means that you'll basically have instant access to all of the new traits that comes with that gear. Then on top of that, after a short questline with Magni, we will unlock the Heart Forge, which is a new progression system. The Heart Forge will, in total, give us 3 new passive effects and 1 new active, with there being a lot of customization options. First, let's take a look at the UI. As you can see, it starts with a big slot in the middle, and then you progress along a path. Now that big slot is called the major slot. There are then 2 minor slots, and then there are little small nodes which will give you stamina when you unlock them. So we have these slots. So you might be wondering, what do we put in the slots? Simple, essences. Essences are the new thing to collect for your Heart of Azeroth. They are essentially extremely souped up glyphs that are collected by completing content. You unlock them permanently, and they drop from deterministic sources, so there are no Netherlight Crucible-like RNG systems at play here. Each essence has a major power and a minor power. Now if you put an essence into the major slot, then both its major and minor power will be activated for your character, but if you put an essence in a minor slot, then only its minor power will be unlocked. Now, the major powers are always active abilities for your character, and they are balanced to be as important as your artifact ability from the Legion expansion. Then the minor powers are passives. I think it's easiest though to take a look at some examples. So here we have the Artifice of Time. It's a healer essence. Its major power places a time vortex around a friendly target that absorbs 500,000 damage and healing for 6 seconds, and when the time expires, the absorbed damage and healing then occurs over 10 seconds. So basically with this, you can smooth out incoming damage, or you can stack up, loads of hots for a period of intense damage, something like that. Its minor power then gives your heals a chance to grant the target a haste boost. Then we've got the Focusing Iris for DPS. Its major power focuses excess Azerite into the heart, expelling it outward, dealing damage in a line in front of you over 2.7 seconds. Basically, it's a big group AoE. Then its minor makes it so that every 2 seconds, the Heart of Azeroth absorbs energy, increasing haste, stacking up to 10 times. Then we've got the Burning Embrace. Its major power sacrifices 10% of HP, dealing that as damage to nearby enemies, while its minor increases health by 3.3k every 4 seconds, stacking up to 10 times, with that effect being removed if you fall below 35% health, and it's for tanks only. So there's a healing, damage, and tanking example, but there's actually a lot more here, because the essences have 4 quality levels. And to explore these, let's look through the Crucible of Flame essence. So the green version of this has a major ability that blasts the target with fire, damaging enemies or healing an ally, depending on what you use it on, with subsequent uses dealing double the damage or healing, with that effect resetting after its 3rd use. Then the minor power causes abilities that you use to have a chance to give you a 10-second crit buff. Now, the blue version of this upgrades its major power, causing it to also apply the critical buff for 5 seconds guaranteed whenever you use the major power, and that could be very useful for some class rotations. Then it also buffs the minor effect to apply a dot or hot to your friend or your foe. And then finally, the epic version gives you 2 charges of its major power. So overall, I actually think it's quite well designed, this one. The basic version is just a powerful spell that you'll want to use with care, potentially, being great for priority targets if you can save up the 3rd cast for them. Then its next version gives you gives the major power the 5-second crit buff, and that can synergize with your class abilities, making it a very nice buff indeed. And then the version with 2 charges is really great for experienced players, who will be able to save both of those charges for priority damage. They might be able to line it up with their cooldowns, giving them 10 seconds of the critical buff guaranteed alongside whatever buff they've maybe planned to use it around. So design-wise, there's a lot of room there, and I actually think it's quite good. Now, they can't design these to play around unique class mechanics, such as like Holy Power, at least for the most part they can't, but they can give them effects that are universally useful, like that crit buff, or maybe the healing example from earlier, which really will play into every single healer's toolkit in a slightly different way. I suppose it's like having a big new set of talents for every single class, but with them being a bit less specified in design. So far, to me, they seem interesting. Certainly a big step up over the Azerite traits in their level of impact, and bear in mind, we've only seen one epic quality one. The first examples that I gave you were blue quality, which means that their epic effect, which is really the sort of high-end, like, you know, the rating one, it wasn't there. Then finally, there is a legendary version of every essence. Now, the legendary version is basically just a unique cosmetic effect. It does not seem to have any other form of gameplay impact, so it's just there for the cosmetics. Ideally, I'm assuming for the really high-end Mythic Plus, you know, PvP and maybe the Mythic Raiders, it's just there to give you more cosmetic reward, which I absolutely do think is a very good thing to have in the game. Now, of course, with any system like this, acquisition is a massive worry, so these are going to come from all sorts of content in the game. Thankfully, they drop from fixed sources. This does indeed mean that there will be no Titan Forging RNG or anything like the Legion Legendary RNG. By coming from fixed sources, well, they make all the content in the game actually feel a bit more unique and be more important, which I do think is a good thing. I think it's pretty bad for a game if everything is just a random rule from doing anything. So overall, pretty decent move there. Now, pacing-wise, they said that you will have the rank 1 and 2 versions of them before raiding hits. Now, they also said that the raid is to come out 2 to 3 weeks after the patch comes out, so a bit of a break in pace. So that actually means that these should be very attainable to those who want to put in the time. Then the epic quality ones, they are designed to come from your progression content, which again seems reasonable and does seem like a pretty fun reward to get. Now, the slots themselves are unlocked using artifact power. Blizzard told Slootbag that they will be balanced either so the dedicated players will definitely have them unlocked before the raid, or that none of them will. Blizzard's idea is they do not want to have a middle ground like with Dazara lore, where many guilds feel extremely pressured to just do that stuff to an absurd degree. Then these are also being treated like talents, meaning that they can be swapped in a rested area for no price. So yes, no reforging. And it really does make me wonder, why don't they just remove reforging costs altogether and treat the Azerite gear system in, the same way from 8.2 onwards? I think that would be a good thing, and I'll probably advocate for that throughout PTR. So what's the impact on your character? Well, you're going to be getting 3 new passives and 1 new active. Thing is, they're going to be from a pretty darn large pool of different essences. Right now, we don't know how many, but we do know it's a system they'll be able to add to over time. And with how they're doing it right now, it's not like they're tied to item levels, it's just whatever quality you have unlocked, so when a new patch comes out, it's probably not going to invalidate everything the previous patch did. So that means that the number of options that are available to you should be built upon over time as the patches of this expansion roll out, which pretty much is a good thing. Now, overall, I think these have been met with, I'd say, net positive but mixed-ish opinions. I think a lot of that's because people are just very skeptical of systems like this. I think there is also disappointment that they're not a class-based artifact ability, essentially. And that's an interesting one because, say I'm a hunter, right, like a marksmanship hunter. Do I want to get one ability for marksmanship and for that to be deeply integrated into the design of the spec? Probably in such a way that it would end up pigeonholing you into some talents, or would you rather have, let's just say, a pool of 10 different essences that are applicable, where you just get to choose whichever one you want for whatever you want to do, and whatever build you want to create for your character? I actually feel like both things are good for the game, you know, having the tight integration with your class, but I also think the customization is a really good thing. We will basically just have to see if they're able to pull this off in terms of design. I really like that healer one. I think it was pretty good. I really liked the one that they showed us with the multiple different quality levels, the Crucible of Flame. I think that was a pretty good design. If they were, mostly of around that tier, then I think this could be a net positive system. If we think about the overall impact on our characters, well, we're going to have fully unlocked Azerite gear in 3 slots, and then all the new traits that come with that. Then we're going to have 3 new passives of our choice and 1 new active of our choice. That's quite a lot more than just about any other patch would give you in terms of character customization. Overall, I'd say with the amount of just pure new stuff that this puts on your character that you get to play around and modify, this should be pretty good. I actually think it will, for many people, alleviate a lot of the core problems with Battle for Azeroth. Really, with BFA, it's sort of twofold. Number one, Azerite is just not that fun as a design. But number two, it also has a number of really annoying and pretty significant pain points. What they've managed to do here is remove basically all the pain points with what they are doing to the Azerite gear in this patch. So no matter what, that is one good thing. So then looking at this system alone, we've got to ask ourselves, is this a net positive or a net negative? Well, when I look at it, it seems like they're very aware of how they want to balance the increases in your Heart of Azeroth level, unlocking the traits. And it seems like they are really just setting up this kind of, it almost looks like the glyph menu, doesn't it? It just seems like they're setting up this big list of new things you can unlock for your character and then customize at your will. It's a lot more player freedom than they tend to give us with systems like this, especially, like we say, the Netherlight Crucible. I mean, this is night and day different to the Netherlight Crucible, which is absolutely a good thing. Now, I think that for the most hardcore people in the game, this is probably not going to be that exciting of a system. It probably will just be another thing they'll have to contend with and probably won't like it that much. I think that for the average player of the game, that this likely will be good. You see, for the most hardcores, right, raid bots will just tell you what the best choice is. But if you want to go to Mechagon or Nazjatar and knock out some rares and maybe run through a dungeon, well, you'll probably be able to experiment with a few different builds for doing that. Especially when you think about the Azerite traits and how you talent your character. You could very much make a wacky, AoE build that would be super powerful that would maybe bring you back to some of the really strong power fantasies of having a super tailored build back in Legion. So overall, I think this is a net positive for the game. Now don't hold me to that, we need to see how it is in PTR. Thankfully Blizzard have said that this is going to be fully available from day one of PTR, with their intent being that they really want to be poised to react to tester feedback. So because they've been so clear about that, and because fundamentally I think it's a pretty solid idea, and I do like how it's just, you unlock new options in the menu and you just get to customize your character, and that's basically a permanent reward. I think that's pretty good. Now, technically there is a bit of trait re-unlocking here, so, you do re-unlock the different qualities of it. However, it's not interacting with the power requirements in a degenerate manner, which was the core problem with the Heart of Azeroth progression through early BFA. So that's one very good thing. And the second thing is that each progressive version, as you move from green to blue to epic, to purple even, they have new mechanics. And I think that is a lot better than just being slightly more damage. So I'll say this, tentatively, I think this could be really good. We'll have to see how it pans out in PTR. I like a lot of their ideas, but really with this, because this essentially is just a customization system for delivering whatever build you want to create yourself, it will just depend on the design of the essences. So far, we've only seen 4 essences. We don't know how big the pool is going to be, so there are a lot of questions, and they will be the first things that I'll be investigating once PTR hits. So let me know what you think about this system down below. Stay tuned to the channel. It's going to be wild over the next, really over the next 2 months, I suppose. And yeah, with that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm.